Hey, Foxy listener, thanks for tuning in to episode 50. You're going to want to grab yourself a soy, sugar free vanilla latte or whatever your favorite drink is, because today's guest is Caffeinated Kyle.
Welcome to Fox Talks Business Podcast with your host, Tanya Fox. Tanya has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, owning retail, service, and franchise. She holds no punches and is never afraid to talk about the nitty-gritty. Together, you'll explore the good, the bad, and the motivational of business life, turning obstacles into opportunities and failures into successes. So grab your favorite drink and let's have some fun. Here's your host, speaker, crafter, and collaborator, Tanya Fox.
So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Kyle. I'm so excited to hear more about your story.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So first off, I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about your story and how you sort of came to be where you're at right now. But just before we start, I wanted to know if you're okay. Did you have your soy sugar-free vanilla latte today?
Yes, I haven't had a latte yet. I haven't had a Starbucks yet, but I'm on my second cup of coffee now. I'm drinking it out of one of my Starbucks mugs, one from Disneyland. I collect everywhere we go, so I'm okay on the coffee.
Because I know you love your coffee. I remember that.
I do, and then it's infused in my brand now too, Caffeinated Kyle. So anytime I see clients in person or just anyone who knows me from social media, they're like, "Where's your coffee?" If I don't have a cup of coffee, and they're like, "What's wrong?"
So tell us a little bit about your story and how you sort of came to this point in your life.
Yeah, so my story is unique in that I started on Fiverr. It was originally just supposed to be a side hustle. I literally charged $5 for resumes, reviews. I didn't write a whole resume for $5, but I'd review it for $5, write a LinkedIn summary. I had some college students where I would edit their essays for classes. And it was just supposed to be a side hustle, sophomore and junior year of college, to help pay for Starbucks, to pay
Right.
for a Subway. We had this delicious Subway on campus with pizza, so amazing. And that's all it was supposed to be. And then over time, the side hustle just kept growing. There was more and more demand. People kept reaching out because there really wasn't anyone offering the high quality service I was for just $5. So over time, through word of mouth, by me marketing myself on Craigslist, which was really surprising to get clients.
Right.
I was like, okay, I didn't know people need this on Craigslist, but there was a need. And really just through mostly the word of mouth, the business just kept growing. I raised my prices to maybe $25 for a resume review senior year. I don't remember the exact numbers, but over time it just kept growing. But until maybe 2.5 years ago, I never imagined to do this full time. And then one day I was like, you know what? There's this side hustle. It keeps growing. I'm only spending 20, 30 hours a week on this. What would happen if I did this full time, if I put all my energy here instead of this being number 3 or number 4 on the priority list? So I made the jump a few years ago to do this full time. And since then, it's just kept blowing up. And again, mostly through word of mouth. That's my main source of clients. So it's been fun to go from charging $5 to now 100 times that to review a resume. And
Yeah.
especially when I never plan to go down this path. A lot of people, when they do career coaching, they go for the certifications, they go get a master's in counseling, they go get training in that. And my path, we were talking before this, my path is from health education. I'm a certified health education specialist. So I go from that angle. So it's been fun where this accident turned into a business.
Right. So tell us a little bit more about the business and what it is that you offer people, because a lot of our listeners are either well experienced or just starting out entrepreneurs. And I really think that what you do is going to be very beneficial to them. And I'll explain why after you explain what it is that you do.
Yeah. So I am a career coach. So I help people find jobs they love. Some people, it's a resume they need support with. Other people, it's a LinkedIn or a cover letter. I do lots of interview prep, salary negotiation, really anything you can think to find a job you love. And then once people find jobs, I help them stay in love with it. So they come to me and say, hey, Kyle, got this job at Netflix and it's my dream job, or at least I thought it was, and now I'm here and I don't love it. So help me fall back in love with this company
Right.
or this dream or balance work and life. So really anything around finding a job and keeping that job and loving that job is how I help people.
And I think like I see that so many times with entrepreneurs that I know that have closed their business for a variety of different reasons, but then decide they don't want to deal with all of that again. And they want to get back into the workforce. And that's hard because I know myself, I always think I would be the worst employee because I come from that mindset, right? Of
Mhm.
just used to making all of the decisions.
Yeah, and I have a lot of entrepreneurs who reach out to me and say, Kyle, I haven't conducted a job search in 10 years or 20 years. I was just working with someone last week. He had built a bunch of businesses. He's like, Kyle, I've never had a resume ever since college. He said he had one. That was his last resume. He's never had one. And now he's learning how to look for a job, how to network, how to interview, being on the other side of the table after hiring hundreds and hundreds of people. So it's a unique experience for people. And those are the types of people I tend to work with, those tricky situations, the difficult situations where it's not just an easy, I'm a marketing manager, I want to be a marketing manager. It's, I built this multi-million-dollar business, and now how do I go become a sales leader? I love those tricky challenges. And really when it comes to the branding and the marketing and how do we set you apart from the other 1,000 people who are also applying for this role?
And I think, it's such a needed thing because I think people just go in. I mean, I've seen it tons of time in interviewing people. God, I wish you were here in Canada because there's so many people that I would send you to because I've had people come in and I'm like, you're not prepared for this at all whatsoever. What do you think is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when preparing for an interview?
Yeah, and I just want to point out, I work with a lot of people in Canada. Almost all my clients are US or Canada. I've only
Oh,
met maybe
good.
5 of my clients out of almost 1,500 in person ever. Almost all my clients are phone or video. But when it comes to interviews, I find people, I have this book right here actually for like if people end up watching this on video, I have this book of like common interview questions. And my clients want me to go through it and then help them prepare a pitch or a template or a script for all the questions. And I refuse to do that with them. Because what happens is we'll have those 200, it says what, 200 and something questions. We could memorize a script, or I could be in their ear and tell them, here's exactly what to say. And then they throw at you question 300 that we didn't prepare for, and then you get stumped. So I
Yeah.
instead encourage people to prepare a handful of really powerful stories. I suggest about 5 really powerful stories that you then modify for whatever questions that are thrown at you. Here's a really good story of me being a leader. Here's a time that I failed. Here's a time I collaborated with people. Here's a time I was really creative. And here was some other time I showed great dependability. And then any question they throw at you, you just kind of morph it a bit. I almost think of it like being a politician, at least in the US, being a politician during debates. They already have their talking points and then they just massage it for whatever question comes at you.
Yeah. And I think that's true because I'm thinking, on the other side of the table, one of my favorite questions that I've asked anytime I've hired an employee, which always throws them for a loop, which is one of the reasons why I ask it. I always ask them to give me, and it's always at the end of the interview, and I always ask them to give me 3 things that you can do with a pencil besides writing. And
Mm.
I always watch them like, what? Like, and I'm like, there's no wrong answer. I just need 3 things. And I do it because somebody did it to me once, actually. And I like to see how they can think off the cuff. And for those ones that don't know, if they're willing to go, you know what? I don't know. I can't think of any more. And that's what I'm really looking for in it. So I think I agree with you that if somebody does a script, I'd probably freeze them because I freeze people that are prepared for it too.
And I don't want people to go in there having this script because then you're scripted too. And what happens on your first day of the job when you get thrown something that isn't in the employee manual? You're going to eventually come to a point where you have to be yourself and be honest and authentic. So why not just show up to the interview like that and say, here's some good examples that demonstrate why I'm awesome. But then to your point, being honest too, when my clients come to me and say, what if I don't know what to do? I say, why not just answer honestly? That's one of the most powerful things you can do in an interview is be honest, authentic, transparent.
Yeah. And what do you find like that most people are heading for, like when they're looking to do like a career change? Do you find that there's a lot of fear in that, or are people, because you do a lot of coaching and stuff like that too? So I'm sure you get those people that say, I would really love this. I would love to do this, but I don't think I could do that. I don't think I
Yeah,
deserve that.
there's two camps of people I find. There's a camp of people where they're running away from something. They're saying, okay, bye, I need to get away from this job. I'll take anything. And then there's another group of people where they're running towards something. They're really excited for the next opportunity. And I try and get people to have some closure with their last job and say, okay, let's move past this last job. Let's address it. Let's let go of that last job. So then you can really be running towards something instead of just saying, I want anything except this current company I'm at or this last company I was at. And then be really clear on what you want moving forward before you start your job search, so you don't get shiny object syndrome and say, ooh, this is exciting, and then all of a sudden get hit with the fact that it's a 2-hour commute each way, and you've said, I want to avoid that. One of the activities I like doing is having clients, before they start their job searches, write out, here's everything I have to have in my next job, here's everything I want to have, here's everything I don't want, and here's everything I can't have. And then go through and rank it and say, here's what's most important. And then laminate it or print it or make it the background on your computer, so that throughout your job search, you can hold yourself accountable to that and say, nope, this is what I agreed to. And then when shiny objects come across your desk or your screen, then you don't get distracted.
Yeah. And I think that's true, because even thinking back, like a lot of years, over 20 years, when I was in the job thing, I don't think I ever did that. Like, I think it was just, um, I took what was offered, to be honest, because I was like, hey, it pays. I'll take this one.
It's so common, and so many of my clients come to me and say, Kyle, this is the first time I've reflected and actually made a list of what I want in my work and my career, in my life. And it's exciting and empowering once they say, okay, I've let go of that last job or that last opportunity or where I am now, and here's what I want moving forward. And it can be so much more empowering when you go into that interview and when you go into that salary negotiation to say, here's what I want, and to start the conversation from that place.
Yeah. And do you find, because like I find over the years of just like having employees, that there's been a big switch between, um, I would say even like my generation or just before mine, where that's what you did. Like your work was kind of your life. And then you had extracurricular activities. Are, are you starting to see too more of a push where people are like, I work to be able to afford to live the life that I want to, but my work is not my life? Are you seeing that? If that makes sense, that
Yeah,
explanation?
yes, that makes so much sense. And I see it, it's kind of like this strange juxtaposition where like people are blending their work and life more, and there's more of an overlap where maybe their employer is offering daycare, or there's commuting where they're, especially in Silicon Valley where a lot of my clients are, their supervisor maybe has a bus, or not their supervisor, their employer has a bus where they can commute to work. And then they also want more separation because we're realizing our work is taking over our lives. And people say, no, I
Right.
want to get off at 5. I don't want to be emailed on the weekend. So it's this strange balance my clients struggle with in regard to, okay, how do I separate from work, but then also how do I blend my work and life? Because I just can't have separation. I can't come home from work on a bad day and just say, okay, let me forget about my work and not think about it when I had a rough day at work and my boss yelled at me or I got upset with someone. So it's this difficult balance of separating the two, while also recognizing who you are as a human and who you are at work can't be separated. It's physically and mentally and emotionally impossible to separate the two.
Yeah, that's so, yeah, it is true. So going over a little bit more to you being an entrepreneur, when you decided to make that switch to start doing this full time, what was one of the things that maybe most surprised you about having your own full-time business?
Yes, I think the thing that surprised me the most, and I was just chatting with someone else about this recently, she works in corporate America, was I miss the meetings. I never thought I'd say that because before I was like, I have so many meetings. I have like, how do I have 12 meetings today and there's only 8 hours in the day? How is
Right.
this possible? But I miss the collaboration. I'm a one-person shop. I have an assistant who works part-time. She's a stay-at-home mom, so it works perfectly. She's going to school, but lives 4 hours away. So I miss that collaboration and being able to bounce ideas off of other people. So I'm in some masterminds and I'm able to bounce ideas off people, but I miss that. And having a supervisor, I can't believe I'm saying this either. I never thought I'd say I miss having a boss and someone telling me what to do. But I miss having that and saying, can you look over my work? Can you tell me what you think about this? Can you take some of the weight off my shoulders? I miss that sometimes. It's empowering to be in charge and to say, here's what we're going to do. But it is also helpful to have people to bounce ideas off of and say, what do you think about this? What are your ideas? Can you make a decision here? So I don't have to. Sometimes I miss
Yeah.
some of that.
Yeah. And I find like, I know I joined a lot of mastermind groups and stuff like that too, because yeah, same thing. I work from my, I've worked many different things, but now I'm back working out of home. And so the seclusion sometimes becomes like you kind of get stuck in that. And so how have you found that you utilize those things like mastermind groups and stuff like that? Like, are you using them just for the connectivity, or are you using them maybe for those potential collaborations and stuff like that?
I'm using the masterminds mostly for connection and really just connectivity and to be able to talk to other people and have those really thought partners to connect with. And then I have other industry colleagues who are fellow resume writers, career coaches that have been helpful for discussing issues. So, okay, I have this problem with this resume. What do you think about this? Or I'm working with this client who's going through this interesting career transition. They've never worked in tech, but they're an executive. How do we get an executive a job here? And really brainstorming. And it's been helpful to have both of those because you miss two really key things when you work for yourself. You don't only miss the collaboration, but you also miss those thought partners and really that intelligent part of bouncing ideas off from other people who know your same content as you. And I think both of those pieces are different because I can get the connection going to a coffee shop and chatting with people.
Right.
That's a little easier, but the more difficult part is other people who are experts at your craft, who know your industry. That's more difficult. And I've had to reach out to industry colleagues through associations really to get that and bounce ideas off of.
Yeah. And I think that's true too. Like I find that I have, different friends. I have those friends that aren't entrepreneurs that are in the
Mm-hmm.
corporate world. And there is a difference. Like sometimes they don't understand when they're like, well, I don't understand. Just go home. And I'm like, I'm always home. Like I can't just shut the door and go, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not that easy to shut my brain off to be able to do that. So
Yeah, and something I've chatted a lot about with other entrepreneurs is time management. So we've said, okay, here's a time management issue. And then people in corporate America said, okay, well, just push off the project. Well, I can't just push it off. That's pushing money off. So I think that's a
yeah.
challenge too, is because really, especially when you're a small shop, you have to hunt your own clients and then you're taking them on. So pushing clients off isn't just pushing off projects like in corporate America, but you're pushing off your own salary, you're pushing off your own income. And it's this delicate balance that you have to navigate. And a lot of people just don't understand that unless you've been these shoes and really been an entrepreneur or a small business owner.
Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about was when you're taking on clients. So I remember when I first started out, and literally anybody who walked through my door, I said yes to. And it took me in way too long to learn that, that one, it wasn't beneficial, and that not all money is good money. Do you find that as well? Like, do you find that you're a little bit more, I don't want to say picky, but that I don't know how to say this. Usually I'm never at a loss for words. That you kind of interview your clients and that's important.
Yes, and really the key for me is making sure that they're in alignment with my zone of genius and what I'm great at. So before, when I started on Fiverr, I was just doing resume reviews, giving my 2 cents. It really wasn't coaching. It really wasn't expertise. It was, here's
Right.
my 2 cents. Let me tell you what I think. And I could do that for anything. I can tell anyone my 2 cents about anything and not be an expert. But now I've really honed my niche. I think that's the key. I really have a specific niche. Silicon Valley, people in Silicon Valley-esque roles, locations, companies, types of people, and that's what I'm good at. So if you're outside of that, I might be able to help you, but it's not my zone of genius and that's not what I'm best at. So you'd be better served by someone else. So during the consultation or even when you first email me, that's what I'm learning. Are you and your issue the best? Am I the best person to solve whatever you're going through? And then if not, let me refer you to someone else, one of those other industry colleagues I have. And then the second is making sure that really what you're looking to get out of the process is something I can deliver. I want to know your goals, your expectations, your timeline, your budget, and make sure they're in alignment. So it's twofold, really making sure I can deliver what you want and then making sure you're really going to be best suited by me working with you and ensuring my zone of genius is best used.
Yeah. And I know you had said you'd worked with a lot of people who were entrepreneurs before and then went into,
Mm-hmm.
sort of a 9-to-5 job. I hate that saying, but you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Um, do you find that that's more difficult? Like, do you find that entrepreneurs sort of have this weird dynamic going from owning their own business to being an employee?
I find it can be challenging when they try to hide it. So one of my
Right.
favorite philosophies, catchphrases, whatever you want to call it, is identifying and owning your fabulousness. So instead of being like, okay, let me brush aside that I'm an entrepreneur, own it and say, I'm an entrepreneur. I've built 4 multi-million dollar businesses. Here's what sets me apart from all your other applicants that have only worked on the inside. So I think one, you have to own it and say, here's what sets me apart. And then two, connect the dots. Say, I've done this. Now here's how it relates to your company and what you're looking for. Yes, I've done this, but here's how it relates to what you're doing, and connect the dots. And that's the two pieces people tend to forget is one, just own it and put it up front, and then two, connect the dots. And once people do that, I found that they have great, I was going to say luck, it's not luck, they have great success with their job search.
Yeah. So, thinking back to like, I know like you had said one of the most memorable pieces of advice that you got was, why don't you answer honestly? Can you
Mm-hmm.
expand a little bit on that? Because I really loved your explanation. I think it really goes in hand in what we were just talking about, actually.
Yes. So I was actually on the call with this person today who gave me that advice. It's this mastermind I'm a part of. And it's January now. So it was January last year where she gave that to me. And I still remember I have a post-it at my desk that asks that is, why don't you answer honestly? Because I was having a difficult time with some clients, really talking about what you said. They would reach out and they just weren't in alignment. And I wasn't the best person for them often the times, and I wasn't sure what to say. And she asked me, this coach said, why don't you answer honestly? And I realized that's the key. People just want honesty. They want transparency. They want you to be clear and really just be kind with them. And I've realized that served me so well. So I'm afraid to share something with a client. I ask, okay, why don't I just answer honestly? And then try and get to the root problem. Is it that I haven't built rapport with them? Is it that there's some underlying issue? Is it that what I think is the truth isn't the truth? And really getting to the root there. So by asking myself that question, it's really helped me a lot. And then I reflect it back on my clients too. So they say, oh, I'm afraid to apply to this job because I've been an entrepreneur for the last 4 years. Okay, well, why don't you just share honestly about yourself with them? So it's been helpful too with my own coaching with clients.
Yeah. And I agree with that. Like, it's something that, like I said, took me a long time to learn, was to be okay with saying, you know what, I don't know, but I'll find out,
Mm-hmm.
and even in what, when I've owned retail, of saying, you know what, I don't really know, or I don't know about that product. Can you tell me about it? Or, I have no idea what you're talking about, like, let's help me out. But I think the key for me is saying that you don't know, but having that curiosity to try to find out, and being willing to. That for me was always a thing. I have no issue with employees saying, I don't know, but let me find out. It's that, but let me find out part that's key
Mm-hmm.
to me.
It is. You have to have that curiosity and ask questions. Those questions can be so powerful.
So if I have one other question actually, before we get to where people can
Yeah.
find you. In one of your posts on Facebook, you had talked about an ABC grateful meditation practice
Okay.
that you did. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I have a really difficult time falling asleep. And I don't think it's the coffee either, because like I stop drinking coffee usually at like 2, 3 o'clock. It's really just I have a very like anxious brain. It's just going, going, going. I have lots of ideas. And I've tried a lot of different methods. And this is finally working. And so what I do, I found it online somewhere random, and I've been doing it for the last month or two. And you go through each letter of the alphabet and say something you're grateful for associated with that letter from that day. And you can either do that day or not that day. I try and do that day. So, okay, A, I'm thankful for all the great weather we had today. And that's something that came to my mind. B, I'm grateful for that banana I ate. I don't know. I don't like bananas. But you get the point. You go through each letter.
Right.
It's really helpful because then it forces you to focus on those letters. It gives you something to do with your mind. It allows you to just be grateful. So I found that to be helpful. And sometimes I have to run through the alphabet a few times. But even if I'm doing that, it's calming and I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I'm staying awake.
Yeah. And I think that's so key, because I think for people in our audience that is a huge problem of figuring out how to shut your mind off, that you can do
Mm-hmm.
something that's not turning on the TV or reading on your phone or whatever. But I think that that's wonderful because not only does it help you fall asleep, but it helps you to actually reflect on your day. And then it probably helps you to actually look for things in your day because you got that alphabet at night. Do you find that that's starting to happen now?
Yes, I really love it because I thought about journaling at night or reflecting, but as entrepreneurs, we're so busy. And I said, okay, I don't want to just add one more thing to my list. That's not fun. So I've been looking for more things. I'm like, this was a great cup of coffee. I'm going to go reflect on that tonight. Or okay, we had a great podcast interview. So it's really allowed me to be more grateful and reflect. And then at the end of the night, really just be like, wow, I am doing a lot of amazing things. Because sometimes we can just be so busy in the hustle and the bustle and going that we don't take time to reflect. So sometimes when I lay down at the end of the night, that's the only time I do have to reflect. And then sometimes during the day when I'm busy, if I have a 5-minute gap, I'll just do the ABC meditation during the day or when I go walk to the mailbox. And it's been a fun way to just reflect as well.
Oh, I love that. I think that's such a good tip for people. So if someone's interested in working with you or seeing if you guys would be a good fit, where is the best place for them to find you or learn more about you and your company?
Yes, my website's caffeinatKyle.com. I also spend a lot of time on Instagram, which is caffeinatKyle, and then even more time on LinkedIn as Kyla Elliott. So you'll often find me on there just hanging out.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your expertise with us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
I've been in business for myself for over 20 years now, and I can't even imagine what it would be like trying to go back to the corporate world and get a 9-to-5 job, as they say. There are so many changes that have come along, just even in the way I interview people, that sitting in that hot seat would be something that I would find very intimidating. And that's where I would head to somebody like Kyle, who would be able to coach me, who would be able to maybe open my eyes to some of those job opportunities that maybe I don't think of. Because I think in business, we tend to pigeonhole ourselves into situations or even into job roles that maybe we need somebody from an outside look that can say, you know what, I think you'd be really good at this job, or I think your expertise can lend you towards this. And even when I was researching his website, I got a lot of really good ideas of even how I'm going to change the way I interview when I'm looking to add somebody new to my team. So whether you're looking to add somebody new to your team, whether you're looking to change careers, or whether you just want to see about getting a leg up, head over to our website at foxtalksbusiness.ca. Click on the link at the top called blogs. You'll be able to see Kyle's picture and all of the links where you can get in touch with him, learn more about his company, and what he can do for you. You know, life can take us on so many different paths, and it can sometimes be challenging and sometimes make us want to bang our head against the wall. And sometimes it's so exciting, we just want to shout from the rooftops. But no matter what you're doing in life, make sure that the decisions that you choose give you time to have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?